Got it. And then Harriet, would you like to then, is that what we're doing? I think I don't have my, that's the introduction from Harriet, right, Harriet?
Okay, sure. No, I think at this point we just wanted to open it up briefly for folks to say what's on their hearts or minds in terms of the good work that Emily Hewes has done, and briefly wish her, I mean, she's been teaching now for a good while, but maybe we should let Emily say a little bit about what she's doing now. And then if you have comments that you want to say verbally, or if you want to put stuff in the chat, we just want to take a few minutes to say, kind of thank you and farewell to Emily Hewes. So Emily, why don't you just kind of update folks who may not be aware of what you're doing and let us know about that.
Sure. So I think I know everybody. All the names are very familiar to me. And, I had the pleasure of working with CEPAD-USA in support of CEPAD for about 10 years. It's hard, I don't know where the time went, but it was really just such a joy to be able to spend these last years working alongside CEPAD and the folks in Nicaragua. A couple of years ago, I transitioned to working both with CEPAD, and then I also started teaching Spanish part-time right about 5 minutes from where I live. Teaching Spanish, I have to say that I never thought that I would teach Spanish, let alone teach high school Spanish. But it really is something that I really have come to love. And for me, it really feels like I also get a chance not only to teach students a language, but I also give them a chance to sort of open their eyes and see, the world in a different way. And I often, bring in my experience in Nicaragua. I try to, give them experiences that, see things, hear things that they might not have an opportunity to do otherwise. So, I feel like I take so much of the experiences and everything that I, learned from CEPAD, I take that with me. And of course, CEPAD will always be very close to my heart and something that is, very meaningful and important to me in my life. So that's kind of where I am and what I'm doing now. And I was really thrilled to have Kimberly, come in and take over for me. I think she's doing a fantastic job. And I know she has a level of familiarity already with Central America, which is fantastic. So I'm really pleased that, to have her fill in for me. And I think she's just going to be a great support for all of you and for CEPAD in Nicaragua.
So any words at this point anyone wants to offer? Or as I said, you can put stuff in the chat for Emily directly, but we want to, I know I personally just want to, again, affirm the great work that Emily Hewes has done for CEPAD and her commitment and her sense of just calm and even strokes, I think was really helpful to us during the time that since I've been on the board. I mean, she's been involved with CEPAD a lot longer than I have in terms of being a board member or anything. So I really appreciated her spirit and her willingness and her insight and her Spanish, of course, too. So.
Yes,
Anyone else?
I think Justin just raised his hand.
Yeah, I'll come on camera. I did not have the opportunity to sort of prepare any remarks, but I don't need to because Em, you just are who you are allows a person to be quite generative in their reflections. So I think I can do this off the cuff. Wow. I learned so much from you and had so much fun working with you. I'm so grateful that you invited me to journey with you a little bit. in the opportunities that we have given people to be connected to this amazing organization. It's such a gift to be able to invite others right into and partner with CEPAD, and you did that so faithfully, and yeah, for a decade, right? My goodness, just really remarkable. 10 years is quite an amazing run in today's world, and we weren't able to pay you what you should have been able to be paid, and yet you gave 110% at every turn, and with a lot of unsexy stuff. You know, fundraising is lovely, and especially when we have the opportunity to meet with people. But that was not the opportunity that you often had. You were in the trenches, trying to share stories through direct mail and through email, and you did that faithfully. You always worked faithfully to capture these myriad of stories, but not easy to do. Oh goodness. What else? The campaign, the capital campaign comes to mind. That is something that I don't think you had any experience with, but boy, you just figured it out and invited a number of us to be involved with that, and with many more to consider giving of our financial resources. And what an outcome. I mean, that was just stunning. If you look at the size of CEPAD, I mean, from a purely economic perspective, you know, the annual budget is probably under $1 million, or at least it was when I was there. It may be less today. It may not be. Maybe you could tell us, or we'll hear from you, Kimberly. But boy, we raised a lot of funds that in time will be put to amazing use. And then you know, the times that you came down, which was you regularly made visits. You regularly made visits to some of our partners, partner churches and other organizations in the U.S. And you did it kind of as a solo shop, really. I mean, there were others of us, the board certainly, you know, you had as allies and partners, but it's not like you had colleagues in an office. So that just took an extra level of energy, I think. And you just did it all along. So I've taken up way too many minutes, but thank you so much. Miss you. So we will miss you and are so grateful. Yeah.
Doug Gorbaker, you have your hand raised.
Yep. I have the advantage of having known Emily even before she came to CEPAD-USA when she was in Nicaragua, and being part of her and Josue's wedding. And have been very pleased and very happy with the growth of CEPAD-USA that you've led, Emily, and skills and talents that I didn't know you had. And maybe when you started, you didn't know that you had, but you do. And it's been a great run for CEPAD-USA and for CEPAD. And we're moving on in new ways that I think will grow from that, but we can never thank you more than enough for the work that you've done for the last 10 years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Before we move on. Gilberto, do you want to introduce Kimberly officially?
Sure, yeah, I was going to say, well, then, I mean, we can still do some of the chats if someone has missed to say something to Emily. Let me just say myself really quickly, though, that, you know, I have known of Emily Hewes for so long, and, you know, we're going to miss her a lot. We really do. There's so much history on this entire, you know, tenure that Emily had and the work that she's done. So I just want to say thank you very much. It's going to be a really big shoe to fill, and I know that Kimberly can feel that. And I hope that this continues to be something that we can transition the tasks that we have to support the ministry. And I'm very happy to see now that I would like to introduce, and of course, Kimberly Crider that will try to fill that shoe that we're talking about. And I want to say welcome, Kimberly. You have a lot of people here that you probably met now that you went to Nicaragua, and others that probably you haven't, but I think it will be a good opportunity for you to say a few words now that you are with us.
Absolutely. And actually, before we do that, I know that Damaris and Emily wanted to say something. Is it okay for them to say something now, or would you rather them say
Absolutely.
something at
Let's
the
do
end?
that.
And I know that they said that they would take about a minute to kind of summarize their thoughts, but I think it's important. They work so closely with Emily.
Hola, bueno, hola a todos. Más que todo decir a Emily Hewes gracias. Yo estuve trabajando con ella muy de cerca por 2 años y lo que quiero decir son 2 cosas. Uno, que ella es muy rápida y tuve que acelerar mis pasos lentos con ella.
Well, I want to say hi to everybody, and I have a couple things to say, Emily, especially two. One of them is I had the opportunity to work very close with Emily for 2 years, and 2 things that I learned. The first one is that she is very fast, and I'm not. So I had to step up and start being faster so I can catch up with Emily.
Y eso me gustó mucho.
And actually, I really enjoy that.
Y el otro es que ella conoció mucho del amor de los hermanos de las comunidades. Y cada vez que conversamos sobre un programa o un proyecto, se me hacía muy fácil que ella tomara o apreciara el trabajo que se hace en las comunidades.
And the second thing is that she get to really know and love the communities. So when I was working with her, talking about the community, the stories, it was very easy because she was already connected to the community. She already had those feelings.
Así que en nombre de los comunitarios o la gente, de los hermanos de las comunidades y el equipo de CEPAD, le decimos muchas gracias.
So in the name of the people of the community and the staff from CEPAD Nicaragua, we want to say thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see, well, those who have their cameras on and to see the names of those who don't. And I also I'm grateful for the opportunity to say thank you to Emily. When I first met Emily, I was very glad to hear her Nicaraguan accent. She speaks like a Nica. And that's been, having lived in Nicaragua and being married into a Nicaraguan family, well, she picked the accent. So that was a plus for her from me. And also, I really appreciated the fact that she was always wanted to learn how CEPAD worked, how to learn about the programs, to learn about the communities. And she asked, when she didn't know, she asked because she really wanted to know, to learn about CEPAD. And she said to me once, oh, I don't know, you have so many programs, I get confused. So I'm going to try to grasp as much as I can. So thank you very much, Emily. And also we learned from Emily. I learned that stories is what's impacts our readers, the people everywhere. And it's not how many activities we do, how many people, statistics, it's the stories of the people, what the impact of our work in the people. And she conveyed that pretty well, as you have said previously. So thank you, Emily. I'm also happy to see that in your new stage of your life, you're using Spanish. And thank you very much. We worked together for what, 8 years then?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long time, but I really appreciate. One last thing to say about Emily, that she was always very respectful of CEPAD's decisions. And she was the one that she said, whatever you need me to do, I will do it. And she did. So thank you, Emily. And I'll try And I'll take advantage that I'm with Mike and say welcome to Kimberly. I had the opportunity to meeting her down here in Nicaragua a few weeks ago. And even if she doesn't speak like a Nica, she speaks like a Tica, but she understands Central America and she's learning fast. I know she will do a fantastic job. And I know that Emily and all the staff, Emily Reyes and all the staff at CEPAD will really work well with you, Kimberly. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And you know, again, Emily Hewes has done an amazing job of setting a great foundation. And I know that the organization will continue to grow and develop because of the work that you did. And I appreciated Joe's comment in the chat pod where she said you took the role of fundraiser and you taught yourself just how to do a great job. And it was always a joy to work with you. And I can tell just in the limited time that we've had that you've helped transition me into this role, just the knowledge and the wisdom and the great processes that you've put in place that this organization will build on. And so I just want to thank you. I mean, I didn't have the luxury of working with you for 10 years, but I feel like you've kind of condensed that 10 years down into some time to help me to be able to come on board. But I want to thank you very much for that. And also, I just want to thank each one of you. I've had the privilege of meeting some of you in Nicaragua. I've seen your names because you've been supporters. Some of you have been supporters from the very beginning. And so I look forward to getting to know you, to learn more about your passion for this organization, and also trying to do the absolute best I can in terms of being able to pick up this baton that Emily has left, and try to fill those big shoes and continuing to share the stories of our brothers and sisters in Nicaragua. And so I want to thank you all for the support that you've provided. And I just look forward to the journey. We're going to be trying things that are different. And the reality is we're in a very difficult time. I don't know if there's ever been a non-difficult time, but there's just so much that's going on right now. There are people that, competing priorities. There's a lot that's happening, not only in the United States, but around the world. And in the midst of that, we want to continue to raise the story of what our brothers and sisters are experiencing in Nicaragua and the beauty of what CEPAD does in terms of coming alongside of people. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I have a little under 3 months under my belt and a long way to go. But I'm just really pleased to be able to take from the strong leadership that Emily has provided and help the organization continue to grow. And as we transition now, and again, I thank you for the kind words. We're going to transition because I know you all want to hear what's happening on the ground in Nicaragua. A lot of things are happening, and so we want to give you that opportunity. And I want to first thank you for coming together on Giving Tuesday. I know you've heard from lots of different organizations that are in your orbit about Giving Tuesday. This is the day that people around the United States come together. They show their support and their passion for the organizations that they care about. And so we're thankful that you've taken the opportunity in this time out of your Giving Tuesday to be here to hear about what's happening in Nicaragua. And I do want to ask that you continue to pray fervently for CEPAD. Things are not easy anywhere, but especially in Nicaragua and other parts in Central America, things are getting a little bit more challenging. So we want to ask that you would fervently pray for the ministry of CEPAD. And also we pray that you would continue to provide the financial support to the organization so that we can take the organization and walk alongside and just take it to the next level. So having said that, feel free, if you have not already supported CEPAD on Giving Tuesday, you can go to our website and provide a love gift there today. But I do want to, at this time, turn it over to Emily Reyes and her team so that they can tell us what's happening on the ground. And we're going to listen to them until about 15:45, so about 20 minutes. we'll have for them to be able to share what's happening. And they've actually provided us with a PowerPoint, a couple PowerPoints. So I'm going to share that right now. And then Emily, if you want to walk us through the PowerPoint, then you can just let me know when I need to advance, okay?
Okay. Vamos a esperar a que ponga el PowerPoint. No, puede irlo poniendo. Un saludo nuevamente a todos y a todas.
I want to say hello to everybody again.
Y para continuar, quiero presentar a mi traductora, Jan Vanegas, que es la que va a traducirme en mi presentación.
And I want to thank Jan, which is me, which I'm going to be translating for MAD during her presentation.
Les voy a hablar un poco de la situación de Nicaragua en 3 puntos, ¿verdad? Porque hay mucho que decir, pero no tenemos todo el tiempo.
So I'm going to talk about the situation in Nicaragua, and I'm going to refer specifically to 3 different points. There's a lot to say about Nicaragua, but we do not have the time to talk about everything that is happening.
Kimberly, ¿puedes poner la siguiente?
Next.
Comentarles un poco en las 4 áreas que tenemos, en lo político, económico, social y religioso.
So we're going to talk about the 4 different areas, which is economic, political, religion, and social areas.
Y en lo político yo les estoy mostrando 6 puntos.
And the political point, you can see 6 different points.
Recientemente en este año Nicaragua salió de la lista gris de la GAFI.
Nicaragua this year got out of the gray list of the GAFI.
Que son estándares que están implementando, GAFI son estándares que se están implementando para cumplir sobre las regulaciones legales y operativas sobre combatir el lavado de activos.
So the FATF is a list where what they control is the legal and the operation to stop money laundering.
Y también en contra del financiamiento al terrorismo y el financiamiento de otras amenazas.
And financing terrorism and other threatening institutions.
Este punto es muy importante para nosotros los nicaragüenses porque estamos cumpliendo conforme a la ley y eso nos permite tener mejor imagen.
That point is very important for us as Nicaraguans because it means that we're working under the international law and we are functioning better.
También en nuestro contexto actual estamos siendo un país que estamos teniendo varias relaciones con otros países.
And in the current context, it means that as a country, we also have a better relationship with other countries.
Y Nicaragua ha estado entrando a este mundo multilateral y multipolar.
So now we are entering in the unipolar and multilateral world.
Bueno, como ustedes han escuchado y leído en las noticias, pues Nicaragua presenta varias sanciones que también esto nos ha llevado a tener nuevas relaciones con otros países.
So you probably have read in the news that Nicaragua has suffered several sanctions, and due to those sanctions, we had to enter in relationship with other countries.
Es positivo para nosotros porque también nos permite poder tener buenas relaciones y nuevas para que Nicaragua tenga siempre un movimiento de productos, de negociaciones y de exportaciones a otros países.
This is a positive for us because that means that we are creating new and good relationships and we can continue exporting products, importing and exporting products from the relationship that we create with these countries.
También ustedes han escuchado sobre muchas cancelaciones a organismos sin fines de lucro.
I'm sure that you also have heard about the closing of many nonprofit institutions or NGOs.
Y ahorita llevamos, o se lleva, ¿verdad? Más de 3,000 ONG canceladas.
And today there has been more than 3,000 NGOs that have been closed.
Entre ellos, pues ya hay nombres de organismos internacionales, asociaciones cristianas o evangélicas y también de otros organismos que tenían 5 o 10 años de haber nacido.
And there's all type of organisms. Some of them were Christians, some of them were international NGOs, and some of them were working in Nicaragua between 10 and 5 years.
Y lo que se está aplicando es la nueva ley que se reformó, que es la número 1115, que es donde tiene varios artículos donde cualquier organismo debe de cumplir. Y si no se cumple, pues se están cancelando.
And the main reason for all this closing is the new reform law for NGOs 1115. And basically, if institution cannot follow all the regulations, then they are closed.
Tenemos también una alta migración de nicaragüenses a otros países.
There's also an increase in the migration of Nicaraguans toward other countries.
Y la migración es altamente dirigido a los Estados Unidos y en segundo lugar España.
So migration currently is mainly towards the USA or Spain.
Bueno, como CEPAD nosotros decimos es que muchas personas se han ido por esa campaña que ha habido de migrar o de ir a buscar nuevos ingresos a otro país.
We in CEPAD understand that a lot of the reasons for this massive migration is the campaign of, the work campaign of move to another countries to generate more incomes and to, for a better life.
Y otros se han ido porque sienten que el país no va en una buena ruta o un buen camino con el gobierno que tenemos actualmente.
And other people have migrated because they don't feel the country is moving towards, the government is making life difficult for a lot of people in the country.
En las comunidades donde estamos trabajando, vemos la alta migración de familiares, pero más en jóvenes que se van a otros países.
In the communities where we are currently working, we have seen migration in almost all families, but especially young people searching for a better life.
Como este año tuvimos elecciones municipales el 6 de noviembre y las elecciones hubo una normalidad, la gente asistió a votar, pero hay un porcentaje alto de que fueron a votar, como un 60%, dando un cálculo general, y un 40% que no dio su voto.
So November 11, we have municipal elections, and everything was normal. There was not really violence, and according to the percentage of people that went to vote, the statistics shows that 60% of the people went to vote, but they have so that means there were 40% of people absent for going to vote during the elections.
Y estas elecciones municipales es las que se eligen a las autoridades, los alcaldes, los vicealcaldes, los concejales en todos los 153 municipios que hay en Nicaragua.
So during the elections is when you, there were 153 different municipalities, and basically it's to elect the mayors and everybody in the mayor office.
Y por último, ¿verdad? CEPAD está trabajando con normalidad. Con todo esto que tenemos alrededor, nosotros estamos siempre rindiendo informes ante gobernación, estamos siempre al día con la información que nos solicitan y también tenemos como un permiso de seguir trabajando. Estamos trabajando paralelamente porque las revisiones todavía no han finalizado con el Ministerio de Gobernación.
Even though everything that has been happening and a lot of NGO has been closed, CEPAD have been able to continue working normally. We are up to date with all the paperwork that the government is required. We had to all the time provide information about all the activities that we we take part and all the people who take part in our activities. And we are working on the side. We have a permission. We're still under revision, but we also have a permit that allows us to continue working.
Next. Next. En lo económico, ¿verdad? Y social y religioso. Bueno, en lo económico tenemos ahí, aquí que no veo, una pobreza que ha reducido. En el 2007, según una encuesta que se levantó en ese año, teníamos un 48.3% de índice de pobreza. 2007.
So now in the economic, social, and religious aspect and economic terms, there has been a poverty reduction. The study was conducted in 2007, showed that we're at 43% of poverty. And now the latest one, it says it's at 24.9%.
Y en los 15 años que han transcurrido, tenemos ahorita un 24.9% de reducción. Y eso es bueno para nosotros.
So this reduction has happened in a time of 15 years.
Con el BCE, que es el Banco Centroamericano de Integración Económica, se ha aperturado varios proyectos y fuertes y que eso pues va a crecer el empleo aquí en Nicaragua.
So according to the Central American Bank of Economic Integration, the projection is that the income coming to Nicaragua is going to increase in the coming years.
Y uno de esos proyectos es la construcción de un puerto en el Caribe y específicamente en el departamento de Bluefield.
So one of the many projects that they used for this study is the creation of a port in the Caribbean area of the country.
También en lo económico ya se tiene el presupuesto del 2023, el presupuesto general de la República, y dentro de ese presupuesto vemos un 56.4 dirigido a las inversiones sociales.
Also, the government already present the budget for 2023, and they put in that budget there's going to be a 56.4% of social investment.
Vamos a tener una primera planta procesadora de oxígeno. No la teníamos hace 200 años, pero en este año ya se está instalando y esto es para que Nicaragua pueda tener oxígeno ante esta pandemia y otros que vengan en el futuro.
So for the first time in like 200 years, Nicaragua is going to have an oxygen plant. During the pandemic, they learned that there was not enough oxygen or enough plants in Nicaragua producing oxygen tanks to provide to the people. So they are going to create the first one in Nicaragua. It's already under construction.
Con el COVID tenemos un 91% de la población que está vacunado con una dosis de este nuevo esquema. Entonces, vemos que la gente está cumpliendo con las orientaciones.
So, and according also to some statistics in terms of COVID-19, 91% of the population has received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Con la cobertura eléctrica, se cree que en el 2023 crezcamos ese porcentaje del 99.22. Es una lucha fuerte porque hay muchas comunidades que todavía no tienen energía eléctrica.
So by 2023, they hope to have an electric coverage of 99.223%. That's still a challenge because there's a lot of communities that especially in the rural areas, communities that are very difficult to reach, they are not able to receive electricity.
Y en lo religioso tenemos una libertad de realizar los cultos y algunos eventos masivos aquí en el país de Nicaragua. Obviamente que el otro lado es que también hay algunos sacerdotes que están siendo procesados por cuestiones que han encontrado en ellos. Así que sí tenemos positivo porque todavía hay una libertad de hacer las actividades, predicar el evangelio, pero también tenemos un número pequeño de sacerdotes que están siendo procesados legalmente.
So in terms of religion, we have freedom of religion and also freedom to practice religious activities. But on the other side, also we have some specifically mainly priests from the Catholic Church. They have been incarcerated and are currently on the process because they had done things that go against what, in some ways, against the government.
Next. Y para hablarles un poco sobre los huracanes y tormentas que ha recibido Nicaragua, solo para recordar, en el 2020 tuvimos 2 huracanes, Eta y el Iota, y ahorita en el 2022 recibimos la tormenta tropical Bonnie en julio, y eso afectó fuertemente a los departamentos descritos en la pantalla.
So also in terms of hurricanes and tropical storms, they have hit Nicaragua. As you know, in 2020, Eta and Iota hit Nicaragua strongly. And in this year, in July 2022, Bonnie also really caused damage in the communities that you can read here, which are Rama, Bluefields, Matagalpa, Rivas, and Chinandega, but also in other departments too.
No se reportaron pérdidas humanas, pero sí pérdidas en viviendas, en contaminación de aguas, contaminación de letrinas, entre otras cosas, inundaciones o que los puentes fueron destruidos.
So there were no reports of lives lost during the hurricanes and tropical storms, but a lot of people lost their homes. There was a lot of contaminations because there was cross between the water and the latrines, and that also contaminate people's wells. But also there was a lot of floods, there was a lot of flooding, and also a lot of bridges were destroyed. We make which makes some communities to be incommunicate for a period of time.
Next. Y en octubre recibimos el huracán Julia de categoría 1, afectando los mismos departamentos e ingresando por la costa Caribe o la costa Atlántica. Y esto pues sí tuvimos un dato de pérdidas, no de personas, sino pérdidas ahí materiales de más de 300 mil millones de dólares. 300 millones de dólares.
And also in October, in July, we have, in October, we have Hurricane Julie, which was category 1, and it affected almost all the same communities. It came from the Atlantic area, from the Caribbean side of the country. And according to the government report, it indicates that there was a loss of the 300 millions of dollars.
Nicaragua está siendo un país muy sensible ante los efectos del cambio climático, y recibir una tormenta en julio, cosa que siempre estamos pendientes en octubre, noviembre, pero está siendo algo anormal los cambios de clima.
So as we can see, we feel like Nicaragua has become very sensitive to climate change. We always know that, you know, hurricane season starts in June and it goes up to October, but it's very rare that we had that many storms. Normally, it was very rare having these many storms coming and becoming hurricanes and hitting the country the way they're hitting. So we are noticing a lot of changes in terms of climate.
Les he compartido un poco de cómo está la situación de Nicaragua. Hay mucho que decir, pero quise presentar lo positivo y también lo malo que estamos recibiendo.
As I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, there's a lot of things to be said about Nicaragua. I wanted to focus mainly on these points because most of the questions were around these topics. I think I focus a lot on the positive, but also I was open to mention some of the negative things that had happened in the country.
Gracias por la oportunidad.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Did you want now to have Freddie talk very briefly about what he wanted to talk about?
Quiero hablar rápidamente de su presentación. Muy bien. Yes, Kimberly, can you put your presentation?
Yes, we have about 10 more minutes.
Tenemos 10 minutos más.
Muy buenas tardes. Gracias por la oportunidad.
Good evening, thank you for this opportunity.
Nosotros en CEPAD trabajamos en 4 grandes programas.
We are here in CEPAD, we work in 4 main programs.
Y pues uno de los programas principales tiene que ver con organización comunitaria.
One of the main programs is the community organization.
Ahí trabajamos con 282 líderes.
In that program, we work with 282 leaders from the villages.
Y trabajamos el componente de organización y capacitación.
And we work the component of the topic of training.
En 2022 estamos terminando ya 2 años de este quinquenio de trabajo.
In 2022, we are finishing the 2nd year of this 5 years plan.
Con 282 líderes comunitarios capacitados.
With 282 community leaders trained.
Y que son capaces de gestionar su desarrollo ante las comunidades.
And they are able to manage their development in their own villages.
Igualmente son capaces de gestionar ante los organismos.
They also are able to go and ask to different organizations
Instituciones de gobierno.
or to the government institutions,
Proyectos de desarrollo comunitario.
development project for their own villages.
CEPAD les acompaña en este proceso
And CEPAD accompanied them during this process
y les capacita para que puedan tener ese acercamiento con los líderes de gobierno.
and we training how they can get closer in this relationship with the local governments.
En la imagen pueden ver líderes comunitarios exponiendo las afectaciones después del paso del huracán Julio.
So in this picture, you can see the leaders explaining what kind of problem they face or they had during the pass of the Julia hurricane.
Sí.
Next slide. Yep.
El programa de seguridad alimentaria y ambiental.
In the food and environmental security program,
Trabajamos con 188 productores,
we work with 188
lo que llamamos
farmers.
promotores agropecuarios comunales,
Then we call them community agricultural promoters,
que a su vez multiplican el conocimiento con 564 discípulos.
and they multiply their knowledge with 525, with 564, and we call them disciples.
Para sumar un total de 752 productores en este año.
So we had 752 farmers during this year.
Son capacitados
They are trained
en técnicas productivas amigables con el medio ambiente
in eco-friendly technique
que promueven la agricultura sostenible
that promote the sustainable agriculture,
y cuyo propósito es producir alimentos para sus familias.
and the main purpose or idea is to contribute to the food security.
Igualmente trabajamos con 235 mujeres con pequeños huertos familiares
We also work with 235 women that have family gardens,
y al concluir el 2022 tenemos 2 años de trabajar con estos grupos.
so at the end of 2022 we have 2 years working with this group of women,
Y ahora pueden tener más y mejores técnicas productivas,
and now they can have more and more diverse kind of techniques,
lo cual sirve para amortiguar la situación socioeconómica que estamos viviendo.
so that help them to buffer the economic situation that we are facing here in Nicaragua,
Al producir sus propios alimentos,
because they are producing their own food.
pueden tener acceso a ellos en medio de una situación económica muy difícil por la que atraviesa Nicaragua.
So they can have access to food right away in their gardens.
En la imagen podemos ver agricultores compartiendo las técnicas que han aprendido con sus discípulos.
So in this picture, you can see the farmers sharing their knowledge with their own disciples. Next.
Ahí tenemos a una mujer de huertos familiares
She is one of the women of the Family Garden Program.
enseñando su cultivo de repuesto.
So showing her crop.
235 mujeres producen en pequeños huertos para su consumo.
So 235 women are working in their small gardens just to provide food for their own consumption. Next. 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 Oh. Get back. Sorry, Kimberly, can you get back to the second slide, I think? Sorry for that.
Okay, también se trabaja,
Yeah.
se trabaja con 235 mujeres emprendedoras.
Get back.
So
Yeah, that one. So we also work with 235 women of the entrepreneur program.
Son pequeñas emprendedoras.
They are small entrepreneurs.
A quienes se les ha dado un fondo semilla para que puedan empezar sus pequeños negocios.
That we provide a seed fund for that. In that way, the women can start their small business.
Ellas recibieron un bono de $200
So they receive an amount of $200
para dar inicio a sus negocios.
to start their businesses.
En la imagen está una representación de estas mujeres de 47 municipios.
So in this picture, you can see the representation of the 47 villages that we are working with.
Y comparten sus experiencias y también sus desafíos que tienen con sus negocios.
So they came here to share their experience, their challenges, and
Los ingresos que producen les permiten mejorar su economía de hogar.
the income that the women are able to produce are helping them in their household management,
Y aportar.
and also to support from the benefit of their own families.
Es el programa de desarrollo de la mujer.
This is part of the development of the women's program.
El programa Fortalecimiento del Liderazgo Pastoral
The program, the strengthening of the pastoral leadership. Next slide. Next.
ahí.
Yeah, that one.
Fortalecimiento del Liderazgo Pastoral trabaja con 141 jóvenes.
In the strengthening of the pastoral leadership, we work with 141 youth,
A quienes le llamamos jóvenes de atención psicosocial.
and we call them psychosocial attention groups.
Ellos son capacitados para brindar atención psicosocial en las comunidades.
They receive training to provide health care, like mental care to the people in the villages.
Y trabajar con jóvenes en situaciones de riesgo y vulnerabilidad.
And also we work with other youth that have a problem of drug abuse or are in risk of any kind of situation.
Además de trabajar situaciones de crisis.
And also they are able to work during the crisis process.
Ahora tienen la capacidad de brindar atención a primeros auxilios psicológicos.
Right now, all those youths have the ability to provide like a first aid, psychological attention.
Y han sido una gran ayuda para abordar las situaciones de emergencia que vivimos en este año.
All of those youths have been a huge help to be able to overcome the stress situation after all these different events.
Igualmente trabajamos con 47 multiplicadores de autoestudio.
We also work with 47, I will call them like multipliers of the pastoral training.
Que reproducen lo que nosotros llamamos el modelo pastoral.
And they reproduce or duplicate the pastoral model
de servicio a la comunidad.
To serve the villages.
Igualmente trabajamos con 36 pastores que a su vez son líderes organizados o pastores organizados en los zonales donde trabajamos.
At the same time, we work with 36 pastors that have been organized in all the different regions that we are working.
El propósito es que ellos sean promotores de educación teológica y desarrollo.
The main idea is that all those pastors became promoters
De educación teológica
of
y
the
desarrollo.
theological education,
Y puedan multiplicar estos conocimientos con otros pastores.
and they can multiply their knowledge with other pastors.
Y también trabajamos una línea que se llama Pastoral de Fronteras.
And we also have a new line of work that is pastoral from borders.
La idea es hacer una red pastoral de atención a migrantes.
The main idea is to create a network to provide attention to the people that are migrating to Nicaragua, into Nicaragua.
Y al terminar 2022, estamos trabajando con 110 pastores organizados.
At the end of 2022, we are working with 110 pastors.
Que han tenido un compromiso de trabajar con las personas migrantes que pasan por Nicaragua.
And they have the commitment to work with the people that are passing through Nicaragua,
De tal manera que puedan brindar atención y apoyo si lo requieren estas personas cuando llegan a sus iglesias.
so in that way, the pastor can provide attention and support when those migrants go visit them in their churches.
Pretendemos unirnos a las redes centroamericana y latinoamericana de pastoral hacia migrantes.
We are planning to get together with the Central American network and also the Latin American network of pastors that are dealing with the migration situation.
Estamos dando los primeros pasos, pero creemos que podemos lograrlo.
We are doing just a few steps, the beginning of our program, and we are hoping that we are going to achieve even more in the future. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. It was, as the new kid on the block, it was so encouraging and reinforcing to hear the great work that is happening in CEPAD in Nicaragua. So thank you so much, Emily and Freddie and the team for presenting to us. And we want to be very respectful of your time. So we have just a few more minutes. So what I want to do is ask if you have any pressing questions, maybe you can put those in the chat pod, and we may take one question. We probably have time for just one question, but if you do have a pressing question that we don't get to, you can put that in the chat pod, then we'll make sure that we can get a response out to everyone. But is there anyone that has a question that they're burning to know the answer to? The team was so thorough that there's no questions. That's just awesome. That's a great job. Thank you. So what we want to do is we round things out again. I just want to thank everyone for being on the call today. Again, there's 1,000 different things that you could have been doing on Giving Tuesday, but you chose to take an hour of your time to come celebrate what Emily Hewes has done for a decade, welcoming me, and also being able just to hear what's happening with our neighbors in Nicaragua. So on this Giving Tuesday, I want to invite you to continue to pray fervently and continue to support the ministry and lift up the board members of CEPAD in Nicaragua and also CEPAD-USA, as all the leaders have difficult decisions sometimes to make about how to best lead the organization forward. So we want to ask that you would do that. And again, as we close, we want to wish Emily the best of the success. We know you're the best Spanish teacher in that school. You may be the only Spanish teacher in that school, but I'm sure you're the best at what you're doing. But we do wish you well, and thank you to each one of you that has been on the call. I look forward to getting in contact with you all. So have a great rest of your evening, and God bless you all. I will stay on for just a few more minutes. If anybody wants to hang around and just chat, since you may have not seen each other in a couple years, feel free to do that. Otherwise, have a great evening.